My sister asked me to be her surrogate, and I agreed, but now I'm 7 months pregnant, and I just found out something that's making me reconsider everything. Update: I gave birth and made a decision that's tearing my family apart. I, 28F, need to get this off my chest because I literally have no one I can talk to about this without it getting back to my family. I'm sorry this is long, but I need advice and I need to give you the full context. 2 years ago, my older sister Claire, 35F, and her husband Mark, 37M, asked me to be their surrogate. Claire has endometriosis, and after years of trying to conceive, multiple rounds of IVF, and 3 devastating miscarriages, her doctors told her that carrying a pregnancy to term would be nearly impossible and potentially life-threatening. I watched my sister go through hell. Every failed attempt broke her a little more. She's always wanted to be a mom. It's all she's talked about since we were kids playing with dolls. So when they asked me to carry a baby for them, I didn't even hesitate. I said yes immediately. The plan was to use Claire's eggs and Mark's sperm. I would just be the oven, as we jokingly called it. We went through all the legal stuff, signed contracts, went to counseling together. Everything was done properly and ethically. They would pay for all medical expenses and give me $30,000 for my time and the physical toll on my body. I got pregnant on the second IVF transfer. Claire cried for an hour straight when we found out. It was such a beautiful moment. I felt like I was giving my sister the greatest gift I could possibly give. The pregnancy has been relatively smooth. Some morning sickness in the first trimester, but nothing too bad. Claire has been to every single appointment with me. She's been so involved, so excited. She's already decorated the nursery. She's bought so many tiny clothes. She talks to my belly every time she sees me. Mark has been great too, always making sure I have everything I need, checking in regularly, bringing me food when Claire mentions I'm craving something. They've both been incredibly supportive. I'm now 7 months pregnant with their baby girl. We decided not to find out the sex until later, but when we did, Claire was over the moon about having a daughter. She's picked out the name, Lily Rose. Everything was perfect, until 3 weeks ago. I was at Claire and Mark's house for dinner. This has become a weekly thing. Every Sunday, I come over and we have dinner together, talk about the baby, go over any questions about the birth plan. It's been really nice, actually. It made me feel even more connected to this journey we're on together. After dinner, I realized I'd left my phone in my car. I went out to get it, and when I came back inside, I heard Claire and Mark talking in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was literally walking down the hallway toward the kitchen when I heard my name. I stopped. I don't know why. Maybe it was the tone of Claire's voice. It sounded off. I can't believe we're actually pulling this off, Claire said. Mark laughed. I know. I honestly didn't think she'd agree to it. The money helped, Claire said. I knew she needed it. She's been struggling since the layoff. That was true. I'd been laid off from my marketing job about 6 months before they asked me to be their surrogate. I was freelancing, but barely making ends meet. The $30,000 wasn't why I agreed to do this, but it definitely helped make it possible since I wouldn't be able to take on as much work while pregnant. Still, Mark said, $30,000 is nothing compared to what we would have paid an actual surrogate. Those agencies wanted like $80,000 to $100,000. My stomach dropped. And the best part? Claire continued. She has no legal rights. Once Lily is born, she's ours. Completely. The contract is ironclad. Did you ever feel bad about it? Mark asked. About using her like this? There was a pause. My hand was on my belly, the baby was kicking, and I couldn't breathe. A little, Claire admitted. But she offered. And we needed her. Besides, she gets to be Aunt Sarah. She'll still be in Lily's life. Just not as much as she probably thinks she will be. What do you mean? Mark asked. I mean, once the baby is here, we need to establish boundaries. I don't want her thinking she has some special relationship with Lily just because she carried her. Lily is our daughter, not hers. I'm already planning to limit visits after the first few months. Maybe once a month or something. I need to bond with my baby without her hovering around. I felt like I was going to throw up. That makes sense, Mark agreed. We should probably start pulling back a bit even now. She's getting kind of attached, don't you think? The way she talks about the baby sometimes, it's like she forgets it's not hers. I've noticed that too, Claire said. I'm going to have a conversation with her after the birth. Set some clear expectations. Good idea. The last thing we need is for this to get messy. I quietly backed away, went out the front door, sat in my car, and cried. Everything I thought I knew about this situation suddenly felt like a lie. I thought we were in this together. I thought I was doing something beautiful for my sister. But listening to them talk about me like I was just a cheap incubator they'd manipulated into helping them, it broke something in me. The worst part? They were right about some of it. I did need the money. I was struggling. And yes, I probably did agree partly because of the financial compensation. But that wasn't the main reason. The main reason was love. It was wanting to help my sister achieve her dream. And I have gotten attached. How could I not? I feel this baby move every day. I talk to her. I sing to her. I know I'm not her mother. I've always known that, but I thought I would still be an important part of her life. I thought Claire wanted that too. Hearing that she's planning to cut me out after a few months, that she sees my attachment as a problem rather than a natural result of carrying a child for 9 months, it made me feel used.
Cheap.
Stupid. I didn't go back inside. I texted Claire that I wasn't feeling well and had left. She sent back concerned messages asking if the baby was okay, if I needed anything. I told her I was fine, just tired. I've seen them twice since then, once for a scheduled OB appointment and once for our usual Sunday dinner. Both times I pretended everything was normal. But it's not normal. Every time Claire touches my belly or talks about Lily, I feel angry and hurt and confused. I've been doing a lot of thinking over the past 3 weeks. And a lot of research. Here's what I've learned. I signed a contract, but contracts around surrogacy can be complicated. Traditional surrogacy, using the surrogate's egg, gives the surrogate more legal rights. But this is gestational surrogacy. It's Claire's biological child, not mine. The contract we signed gives them full custody immediately upon birth. However, in my state, surrogacy contracts aren't actually enforceable until after the birth, meaning I could technically change my mind. Not about giving them the baby, I would never do that despite everything, but about other things. About my role in Lily's life. About the terms of our agreement. I also found out that $30,000 is very low for a surrogate. The average compensation is $50,000 to $70,000, and that's not including medical expenses, which should be separate. They paid me less than half of what this was worth. I feel so betrayed. Part of me understands their perspective.
This is their baby.
They have every right to set boundaries. Maybe I am too attached. Maybe my expectations for my relationship with Lily were unrealistic. But the way they talked about me, like I was a transaction, like I was just a means to an end, that's what hurts the most. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm exhausted all the time. My body aches. I have heartburn constantly. I can't sleep. And I'm doing all of this for people who apparently see me as nothing more than a discounted incubator. I don't know what to do. I can't talk to my parents because they'll immediately get involved and it will blow up the entire family. I can't talk to Claire because, well, obviously. I can't talk to friends because most of them are mutual friends of Claire. I'm not going to keep the baby.
I want to be absolutely clear about that.
Despite how hurt and angry I am, I would never do that to Claire. This is her daughter, genetically and in every way that matters. I agreed to carry this baby for her, and I'm going to follow through on that commitment. But I don't know how to handle the relationship after the birth. Do I say something to Claire about what I heard? Do I let her cut me out of Lily's life without a fight? Do I try to renegotiate our agreement? And the bigger question, how do I move past this feeling of being used? I thought I was doing something selfless and beautiful. Now I feel like I was just naive. In 2 months, I'm going to give birth to my niece. I'm going to hand her over to my sister. And then what? I wait for Claire to slowly phase me out of her life. I watch from a distance as Lily grows up, never knowing how much I loved her even before she was born. I'm so angry. I'm so hurt. And I feel so alone. Has anyone else been through something like this? How do you deal with feeling betrayed by someone you were trying to help? How do you set boundaries when you've already committed to something? I need advice.
Please.
Update. Posted 8 weeks later. I gave birth to Lily Rose 3 weeks ago. And I've made a decision that has torn my family completely apart. I need to share what happened because the guilt and the relief and the anger are all consuming me at once. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I read every single comment, some multiple times. Your perspectives helped me more than you know. After I made that first post, I spent weeks wrestling with what to do. Some of you said I should confront Claire. Some said I should just let it go and give the baby to them as planned. Some warned me about the legal implications of changing my mind. I considered everything. I decided not to confront Claire about what I'd overheard. What would be the point? She'd either deny it, justify it, or we'd have a huge fight that would stress me out during the final weeks of pregnancy. Instead, I made a different choice. I called my own lawyer. Not the one who had drawn up the surrogacy contract, my own independent lawyer. I told him everything. The conversation I'd overheard, my concerns about being cut out of Lily's life, the unfair compensation, all of it. He reviewed my contract thoroughly. He told me what I'd already researched. In my state, surrogacy contracts aren't fully enforceable until after birth. He also said that gestational surrogacy gives me very limited rights since I'm not genetically related to the baby. But he suggested something I hadn't considered: negotiating a clear, legally binding visitation agreement as a condition of me signing over custody. So that's what I did. 6 weeks ago, 2 weeks before my due date, I sat down with Claire and Mark. I had my lawyer present, which immediately put them on edge. I told them I wanted to amend our agreement. I wanted a formal, legal arrangement guaranteeing my role in Lily's life. Minimum visitation rights, at least twice a month. Being included in major life events. Being recognized as an important person in her life, not just Aunt Sarah, but someone who had a special connection to her. Claire lost it. She started yelling about how I was trying to manipulate them, how I was going back on our agreement, how dare I threaten to keep their baby from them. I'm not threatening anything, I said calmly, though inside I was shaking. I'm going to give you your daughter, but I'm not going to be erased from her life. I deserve better than that. Mark was trying to calm Claire down, but he was angry too. This isn't what we agreed to, he kept saying. No, I said. What we agreed to was a partnership. What I've realized is that you saw this as a transaction. There's a difference. My lawyer stepped in and explained that I was within my rights to request this modification. He reminded them that I could choose not to sign over custody immediately after birth, which would trigger a lengthy legal process that would be costly and emotionally draining for everyone. I wasn't actually threatening to keep Lily. My lawyer and I had discussed this. I had no real legal ground to keep her, and I didn't want to. But the implication was there. I had leverage in that moment, and I used it. Claire called me a manipulative bitch. Mark told me I was destroying our family. They stormed out. 3 days later, their lawyer contacted my lawyer. They agreed to my terms. We drew up a new agreement. Legally binding visitation, twice monthly at minimum, present at birthdays and major holidays, regular video calls, being involved in decisions about her education and health, in an advisory capacity, not as a decision-maker. In exchange, I would sign over custody immediately upon birth with no contest. They agreed, but they weren't happy about it. The rest of my pregnancy was tense. Claire still came to appointments, but she barely spoke to me. Mark wouldn't make eye contact. The joy that had surrounded this pregnancy was gone, replaced by obligation and resentment. I felt guilty, but I also felt like I was protecting myself and my future relationship with Lily. Labor was complicated. Lily was breech, and after hours of trying to turn her, I had to have an emergency C-section. Claire was there, but she was focused entirely on the baby. No one asked how I was doing. No one seemed concerned that I just had major surgery. When they put Lily on my chest for those first few moments, because I'd requested that in the birth plan, Claire looked like she wanted to snatch her away. I held my niece for maybe 3 minutes. She was so tiny, so perfect. I cried, and I couldn't tell if it was from joy or grief or both. Then they took her and gave her to Claire. And I watched my sister hold her daughter for the first time, and despite everything, my heart swelled. Because that's what I'd wanted. That moment of Claire finally getting to be a mother. But Claire didn't thank me. She didn't acknowledge what I'd just been through. She was so consumed with Lily that I might as well not have existed. I spent 2 days in the hospital recovering from the C-section. Claire and Mark visited once, bringing Lily so I could see her. The visit lasted maybe 20 minutes. Then they left. My parents came to see me and asked why Claire and Mark had seemed so cold. I told them we'd had a disagreement about visitation but that everything was fine. They looked concerned, but didn't push. I went home to an empty apartment, alone, my body wrecked from surgery and 9 months of pregnancy. No baby. No thank you. Just a bank transfer for the remainder of the agreed-upon payment. The day after I got home, I signed the custody papers. My lawyer had tried to get me to wait a few more days, give myself time to process, but I wanted it done. I didn't want them to think I was reconsidering. Lily is legally, fully, and completely theirs. But so is our new agreement. Here's where it gets worse. I had my first scheduled visit with Lily 1 week after the birth. I drove to their house, still in pain from the C-section, excited and nervous to see her again. Claire answered the door with the baby. She stood in the doorway, not inviting me in. "We need to talk," she said. She told me that she and Mark had been discussing it, and they'd decided they wanted to go to family court to try to get the visitation agreement nullified. They were arguing that I'd coerced them into signing it under duress, that it wasn't in Lily's best interest to have a third parental figure confusing her, and that the agreement was impeding their ability to bond with their daughter. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You agreed to this," I said. "We have a legal contract." "A contract you forced on us," Claire shot back. "You used our baby as leverage." "I'm not trying to be a parent," I said, my voice breaking. "I just want to be part of her life. I just carried her for 9 months. And we paid you for that," Claire said coldly. "The transaction is complete." She closed the door in my face. I sat in my car and sobbed for an hour. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, my lawyer has been in contact with their lawyer. They're actually going through with it, filing to nullify the agreement. My lawyer says we have a strong case since they signed it willingly with legal representation, but family court is unpredictable. My family has now found out about all of this. My parents are horrified. My dad isn't speaking to Claire. My mom is trying to mediate, but she's told me privately that she thinks Claire has gone too far. My younger brother called Claire and tore into her, which I didn't ask him to do, but I appreciate it anyway. Claire has told people that I'm trying to steal her baby, that I'm mentally unstable, that I became obsessed during the pregnancy, and now I think Lily is mine. None of that is true, but that's the story she's spreading. Some family members believe her.
Some believe me.
Our family is completely fractured. I haven't seen Lily since that day at the door. I don't know if I'll ever see her again, depending on how the court case goes. I'm physically recovering from the C-section, but emotionally I'm a mess. I did this to help my sister. I endured 9 months of pregnancy and major surgery to give her the baby she desperately wanted. And she's treating me like I'm some kind of threat. The worst part is that I'm questioning everything. Should I have just accepted the original terms? Should I have never overheard that conversation? Should I have confronted her back then instead of going the legal route? Should I have just let her cut me out and lived with it? But then I think about years from now, about Lily growing up and maybe one day asking about me, about whether she'll ever know that I loved her before she was born, that I sang to her when she was in my belly, that giving her to her parents was supposed to be an act of love, not a transaction. Some of you will probably say I did this to myself, that I should have just given them the baby and walked away. Maybe you're right, but I couldn't. I couldn't be erased. I couldn't let them reduce those 9 months to nothing more than a service rendered for payment. So now I'm here, 3 weeks postpartum, physically scarred, emotionally devastated, my family in chaos, facing a court battle with my own sister over a baby I never wanted to keep. I just wanted to love. I don't know what's going to happen. My lawyer thinks we'll win, but even if we do, the relationship with Claire is destroyed. She'll never forgive me. And maybe that's okay. because I'm not sure I can forgive her either. I gave her everything, and she gave me nothing but pain in return. To anyone considering being a surrogate, please, please, please make sure you have ironclad agreements about your role afterward. Don't assume that love and family will be enough. Get everything in writing. Protect yourself, because I thought love would be enough. And I was so wrong. I'll update again after the court hearing. For now, I'm just trying to heal, both physically and emotionally. Thank you for listening, Reddit. This community is the only place I feel like I can be completely honest about how devastating this has been. I did a beautiful thing for the wrong people, and now I'm paying the price.